will continue to be manifested through the many projects the airline is undertaking, including the route network expansion in Africa, the delivery of Airbus A330-800 Neo, the start of intercontinental flights to Europe, Asia, and the Middle East, the establishment of self-handling entity set up on launch at the hub, and many other successes. Uganda Airlines during the COVID-19 lockdown offered immense support to the return of stranded Ugandans abroad through repatriation flights and other emergency operations. We thank the airline for having been available to answer the call of national duty during this critical hour of need. Government of Uganda, upon reassessed and having been satisfied with the measures implemented for safe travel, decided to ease restrictions on international travel by reopening Entebbe International Airport and allowing resumption of commercial flights. I think one of them is already here. Today, we are here to officially announce to all that Entebbe Airport is open and Uganda Airlines has resumed operations. Uganda was recently listed among the best 10 countries in the world and best in Africa in managing COVID-19. This should give confidence to all our visitors that Uganda is still the safest destination with trusted health and safety measures, and we welcome all to come and enjoy the Pearl of Africa once again. The government is committed to the development of aviation in Uganda, as demonstrated with the building of Kabale International Airport in Uganda, the ongoing expansion of Entebbe International Airport, and the establishment of the national carrier Uganda Airlines. We call upon all Ugandans to support these projects. Uganda enjoys cordial relations with our neighbors and the international family, and we are pleased that the resumption of flights to several countries continues to strengthen the bond of social interaction, trade, and tourism. I now officially launch the resumption of Uganda Airlines flights. I thank you for good in our country. Thank you very much. Asante.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Thank you very much for the wonderful speech. Next on the program is the official flag off of the flight today to mark officially the resumption of flights from Entebbe and by Uganda Airlines. Will be led by the Honorable Minister. We have a team. Robina, are we ready to proceed? Our passengers are ready. So we will proceed for the flag off. Andrew, can you please lead us with the Honorable Minister and our guests to the official flag off? Thank you.
As you can see, this is the second flight being taken on today, and those are the first passengers that are taking the flight after the lockdown on passenger travel of Entebbe International Airport. There have been installation of automated sanitizers at various points here within, around, and all over the airport. There is social distancing. We were at the lounge as these people waited to take their flight. We were at the lounge, but the space between different seats at the lounge where passengers have to wait. Wearing masks is a must, and the minute you will have to see me on your screen, you will notice that I have my mask, and everybody here has their masks on. I don't know. Chuso tekeke nene. A mask for everyone that is here around the airport, and yeah, so a mask here at the airport. There are ongoing efforts to create more space in the waiting lounges and everywhere to ensure social distancing. Departing passengers will be urged to report to the airport 4 hours before the time of departure, before the flight. Okay, so departing passengers are expected at the airport 4 hours before their flight to cater for additional time that will be spent going through the added health screening procedures on top of all the other existing scrutiny regulations. The aircraft are sanitized, are sprayed, and yeah, the aircraft will also be disinfected with sanitizer and all that to ensure that everybody that will board is safe, to ensure safety of all the passengers. All of the departing passengers present authentic valid COVID-19 polymerase chain reaction test certificates, which are issued 120 hours before travel. All passengers here shall possess authentic valid COVID-19 certificates that are issued within 72 hours before boarding any aircraft inbound to Uganda. And in special circumstances, like I said at the beginning, where departing passengers are not required to present negative COVID-19 certificates in the country of destination, such passengers are expected to ensure that they have clearance from those countries of destination so as to be allowed to board an aircraft here. Airlines, these are some of the regulations that are being laid out by the Entebbe International Airport and other stakeholders. Airlines shall not board any passengers coming to Uganda without a negative COVID-19 test. And arriving passengers with the negative COVID-19 test shall be denied entry, and the airline shall be obliged to take back that passenger. In the unlikely event that a returning Ugandan comes without COVID-19 test, they will be allowed to enter the country, but shall have the test done at their cost of a whole $65, and quarantine at own cost still till the results are out and they are negative. If they are positive, definitely measures for their treatment will be taken. Yes, the State Minister, Peter Lokeris, is flagging off this flight, which is heading to Nairobi. The first flight was at 6:30 a.m. and it headed to Mogadishu. This is the second one. Yes, I'll repeat it, that today, the 1st of October 2020, Entebbe International Airport is resuming commercial operations, and airlines and travelers will now have to travel, but there will be observance of standard operating procedures to ensure safety amidst the operations. Sanitizer is all over the airport and it is a must. Masks must be on. All of us here, we are in hundreds, the airport staff, airline staff and everyone, but we all have our masks on. It is a must. The passengers and everyone here, the aircraft are disinfected and things like that. So there must be operations, but amidst a lot of all the health recommended standard operating procedures. So we are here with the Uganda Airline staff, the Ministry of Transport officials, and all the stakeholders to see of this second flight that is seeing the reopening of the airport and the restart of commercial operations of the airport and the Uganda Airlines today, since the 22nd of March 2020, when His Excellency the President, on behalf of Government of Uganda and all of us Ugandans, declared that decision of closing operations of the airport, save for cargo. And later on, we saw a repatriation of Ugandans that were stuck in different countries, and those who were seemed stuck in Uganda from different countries. Yes, we are coming to you live from Entebbe International Airport, and my cameraman is trying to see whether we can have a chance to get some pictures. Yes, we are trying to see whether we can get some pictures from within the Uganda Airlines craft, the CRJ 900 Bombardier that we all know. We want to give a picture to Ugandans and everyone concerned to see whether to show how to show the situation within the plane and how
Sunny, Robin.
whether SOPs have been observed and things like that. Yes, we did not get the opportunity, but we hope that the SOPs are also observed inside, just as it is outside at the top. But that is the situation here. We are seeing the second flight. Yes, and now the minister is to flag off this flight, the second flight. Yeah, we'll talk to a few officials, a few stakeholders to tell us what they expect, what they think will happen, as because we all know these are businesses. How has the Uganda Airlines been affected? Because by the time the COVID-19 came, they were just a few months into business. So we shall get to talk to some of the officials to tell us how they have been affected and how they expect to recover from whatever has happened to them as an entity. We'll talk to the airport officials to get to know how the lockdown has affected them. Yes, we shall be talking to the PRO of the Uganda Civil Aviation Authority, that is Mr. Vianney Luja, and other officials of the Uganda Airlines and the airport to get to know exactly how they have been affected and how they're going to ensure that they will get over whatever has affected them. To give us a broader picture and airlines of how they're going to operate and how airlines are going to be operating, and the whole picture of the whole situation, how they have managed to pass through this lockdown, because the expectations are that travels are going to be too expensive. Somebody has to test before boarding a plane to anywhere, to wherever, and again on return somebody still has to test a number of times. Yes, at this point, to you watching UBC TV, the State Minister, Honorable Peter Lokeris, is now set to flag off the flight to Nairobi. And like I said at the beginning of this coverage, this is the second flight. The first one was at 6:30 a.m. and it headed to Mogadishu. This second flight is heading to Nairobi, being flagged off by the Honorable Peter Lokeris, who represented the Minister for Transport, the Honorable General Edward Katumba Omala. So officially, the airport is now open for travels and commercial operations. Since the lockdown that was effected on the 22nd of March 2020, as a way of mitigating the spread of COVID-19. Yes, to you watching us, we are still coming to you live from Entebbe International Airport. Behind me is our own CRJ 900 Bombardier, taking the second flight today at Entebbe International Airport, as we see a reopen of the operations, commercial operations of the airport and the Uganda Airlines and all other stakeholders in this business in Uganda after the lockdown that was effected on the 22nd of March 2020 by His Excellency the President. They will be operating, but under a situation that is guided with the health standard operating procedures that were laid out to all of us by the Ministry of Health and other health experts and officials. One, if you're to come around Entebbe International Airport, you must sanitize all over. There are installations of automated sanitizers all over the place. It's just because I have to communicate that my mask is down, but still I'm a very big distance from my cameraman and all the people around me. But here, social distancing is the way to go. We were in the lounge and we saw people that had to take this flight, seated waiting for their flight, but there are 2 seats in between all the people that sit in the lounge. Why? Social distancing is one of the things that have to be observed here as a must. Third, whoever has to take a flight at Entebbe International Airport must have tested 72 hours before getting to the airport. So you present a certificate that confirms you are COVID-19 negative and then be allowed to board the plane to wherever you are going. Again, to whoever is coming from any different country back to Uganda, still must present a certificate that proves they are COVID-19 negative. If you don't have a certificate that proves you are COVID-19 negative, you will be forced to be taken back to wherever you're coming from or meet the costs of your tests. Again, you are supposed to go for a self-quarantine, which will be at your own cost. Before you get to the airport, you must be here by like 4 hours before your flight. For example, if your flight is at 2 p.m., you must be here by around 10 a.m. At around this time, you must be here, because that takes you, it helps to have an effective an effective procedure of having your observance of the standard operating procedures, ensuring, checking your certificates, sanitizing and all that to ensure that you are safe and all the people around you are safe. So we want to take off some time. On return, we'll be talking to some officials to get to know how ready they are for the reopening and what is going to happen. The expectations are so many. The expectations are so many. One, that travels are going to be so expensive. Is that true? What do they have to tell us? Two, that the situation here is going to be too hard. Is that true? So we have to talk to them to get to know exactly whether this will be the situation or there is information for them to clarify. Yes, we thank you so much for watching. That is our own CRJ 900 Bombardier belonging to the Uganda Airlines taking off, and that is the second flight today. The first one was at 6:30 a.m. and it's headed to Mogadishu. This one is heading to Nairobi. Thank you so much for watching. This is UBC TV Live coming to you from Entebbe International Airport. Yes, like I was saying, we are still coming to you live from Entebbe International Airport, giving you the official... that travels may be too expensive, not only the testing, but the standard operating procedures. A plane may have to carry a few people due to social distancing and things like that. So we want to know what is going to happen and how are they going to handle this whole situation. We're going to talk to one of the officials here to tell us, to give us a picture of how they're going to handle the situation and how the whole business is going to be handled here at the Entebbe International Airport. Yes, because the expectation is that people have to pay a lot of money for the tests, because they have to present certificates that prove they are negative to ensure safety of everyone. How are the rest of us going to enjoy their services? What are the challenges they expect, and how ready are they to mitigate the challenges and to ensure that we go through everything well? It's UBC TV and we are still coming to you live. It is a busy situation here at the Entebbe International Airport. It is a busy situation. Everyone is back to work in their different departments. And there we go.
Sticking to the skies.
And there we go. Officially, we are back to the skies for commercial operations. And whoever had plans to travel, please prepare your bags. Get tested fast. Do not forget. Yes, that is our second flight as Uganda in a commercial sense that has taken to the skies to see travelers go to Nairobi. To you watching us, we are still coming to you live from Entebbe International Airport, and as you can see in my background, the place is a beehive of activities. Everyone is back to work, ensuring that everything is in order, because they're going to be busy 24 hours, just as you know the travel industry. But we want to know, how ready are they as a sector? How is everything going to be? Who is going to do what? The other thing that we really want to know, is it true that travels are going to be too expensive, like everyone is worried? Is it true that the travels are going to be expensive because they involve testing? And according to what the information I've gathered, the information I've gathered, testing, the cheapest is 240,000. So, if we have to test before travels, there must be social distancing within the craft. That means people have to pay some more money. How is it going to be? I'm going to speak to the PRO of Civil Aviation Authority, Mr. Luja, and he will give us more information. Sir, good morning.
A very good morning, and thank you very much.
First of all, how does it feel? For us, the media, we didn't go home because of the lockdown, so we don't know how it feels. How does it feel that you guys are now back for work?
Yes, thank you. It certainly feels good. All the stakeholders are happy and pleased that commercial passenger operations have resumed, and they have so far resumed very well. You have seen the Uganda Airlines flight taking off, and this has not been the first flight this morning. The very first flight was early morning, Turkish Airlines coming in at 3:55 a.m. and it departed at 4:50 a.m. After that, we had another Uganda Airlines flight to Mogadishu at 6:30 a.m. and it also took off successfully. It was followed by another flight from Qatar Airways. Flight came in and took back passengers as well, as early as 8:40 a.m. And after that, we have had this.
So in simple terms, you guys started work yesterday because all those flights had to get you here.
No, not yesterday. That is today. The Turkish Airlines 3:50 a.m. is early this morning. Yeah, but of course we have.
You had to sweep. You had to do everything before the plane came in.
There's been a lot that has been done before the resumption. Quite a lot in readiness for this situation. Just development of the standard operating procedures is a process that has taken time. It has taken a lot of stakeholder engagements back and forth with the key stakeholders, of course, who are the airlines themselves, as well as the health authorities who are assisting us here, the port health teams who are with us.
I'll come back to that later. How has the lockdown affected the travel industry, especially the aviation industry, here in Uganda in particular?
The impact has been great on the aviation industry in Uganda in many ways. First of all, when you look at passengers themselves, in the month of January and February, Entebbe International Airport recorded about 130,000 to 140,000 passengers in the months of January and March, rather January and February. When it came to March, the month in which operations were suspended, the numbers reduced to 83,000 passengers. When it came to April, the situation got worse. We recorded only 947 passengers in comparison to the 140 that we had in January and February. Come to May, we had about 1,400 passengers. The situation, of course, was not any better in subsequent months, June, July, August. And those few numbers that I'm talking about were only the emergency flights or repatriation flights for Ugandans returning from abroad, or the few foreigners that were being taken back to their countries. So, and as you know, most of the income comes from passenger operations. We had cargo maintained, and cargo operations were indeed ongoing, but you can see
your wallet as an entity.
they couldn't. But not only that, even cargo reduced. While we are talking about January and February, where we recorded about 5,000 metric tons of cargo in January and February, when it came to April, that number reduced to 2,888 metric tons of cargo in and out of Entebbe International Airport. Yet cargo operations were sustained. Of course, that was partly because some airlines that do not operate freighters use passenger aircraft to carry belly cargo. So the fact that passenger aircraft were no longer coming in or out, so even that belly cargo was no longer forthcoming. Yeah. But subsequently, cargo went back, increasing slowly. The next month, that is around May, the figures increased a bit from 2,880 to about 3,500 metric tons of cargo. And what explains that is because some airlines had to adjust to the new normal. For instance, Ethiopian Airlines across the world reconfigured a number of their passenger aircraft and were allowed to be able to use them to carry cargo. That can be done with authorization from the regulator and manufacturer of the aircraft.
Now,
yes.
that means as a sector you are broke.
Yeah, definitely there was little or no income at all.
Everyone will
Yes.
instantly understand. That
Yes.
means as a sector you are not doing well financially. How
Not
ready
at
are
all.
you then to give us that service we expect, especially in a critical time like now?
Yes, we have been working not alone but together in liaison with all the other stakeholders, including government and others, to put in place the necessary facilities and SOPs that are required. Some of the things we have done within the terminal, everywhere you go now, there is an automated sanitizer at different points. We have also marked the floor in the terminal for social distancing. We have erected glass shields at immigration counters and check-in counters to reduce on interface between the passenger and the staff working on them. We have also ensured that the aircraft the terminals frequently touched surfaces are disinfected on a regular basis, and this continues to be done. The same is going to be done on aircraft when it lands and passengers disembark. It is expected to be disinfected before other passengers board that aircraft. So the SOPs are in place. Temperature screening is emphasized everywhere. You may have witnessed it on entering the terminal. Your temperature is scanned. The same is done for passengers on arrival, even using ultra-modern equipment like the thermal scanner we have, which can detect your temperature as long as you're within a radius of 30 meters.
About the standard operating procedures, there were complaints about how you handled some people that came in before the lockdown, and you were blamed for some mistakes here at the airport. During a normal situation, aren't we going to see mistakes within your works here in a situation that is not yet back to normal? How are you going to avoid mistakes that were loud that time?
The situation you are talking about back then, no one anticipated this situation. When COVID-19 hit the global world, a number of things changed, and aviation was no exception. For instance, before the lockdown, there were procedures that kept changing every day. We kept following guidance from first the World Health Organization as well as the local Ministry of Health. You remember at that time, we initially had some passengers from certain countries which were categorized as passengers from category A countries who had to undergo quarantine mandatorily. That list of countries kept on changing every day, and of course that is one of the areas that brought in challenges. Today you had a list of countries 1 up to 5 that passengers from those countries have to undergo quarantine. Passengers from these countries, no quarantine. Then you get an announcement the next day that you have added, the list is now 10 countries. So of course that posed challenges, not only at Entebbe but all over the world. But they were managed. However, talking about going forward, you're talking about how we are going to cope with the challenges in light of the new things that are happening every now and then. We have used the time during the lockdown where we have been facilitating evacuation flights and repatriation flights. Evacuation are those taking foreigners, and repatriation returning Ugandans. We have facilitated a number of them at Entebbe Airport, and that has been for us like a dry run. We have used it to help us rehearse, like a dress rehearsal for this other situation when operations increase. So that we have learned some lessons from that, which we are going to apply. But of course, this is now a bigger challenge. There are now more passengers coming, so we expect more challenges. But we have a plan, and that plan, we have said the resumption is in phases. We are not going full blast. The first 3 months from October to December, we are looking at scaled down operations.
What are
we
those?
have, for instance, asked airlines to have an average of 1 flight per day. You may find that before the lockdown, airlines like Ethiopian had 7 flights a day. Kenya Airways had 5 flights a day on some days and 6 on other days. But now it is an average of 1 flight per airline per day in the first 3 months.
I've seen we have had 2 flights for Uganda Airlines.
Uganda Airlines is a national airline, so that is a different matter, because the national airline facilitates other things for the state. Yes. So because of that, today we have a total of around 12 flights. Tomorrow we have about 15. But by flights I'm talking about coming in and out. Tomorrow we have about 15. On Saturday it's an average of about 7 flights. Then Sunday again we have around 16. So really the first period is not extremely busy, so that we have spaced these flights. And a case in point, so that we don't have 3 flights landing at the same time and having so many people within the terminal building. For instance, while the first flight came in at 3:55 and departed at 4:50, the other departure was at 6:30. The next departure after that was at 8:40. After 8:40, the next departure is this Uganda Airlines that you have seen. There is another one of Fly Dubai at 11. And then after that, Taco Aviation will take off at 1 p.m. And later in the day, we shall have Emirates, Kenya Airways, Rwanda Air, Ethiopian, all spaced.
My last one to you. People are already worried with the testing, which seems expensive to some people. People already complain that it's expensive, but that is for the health officials to tell us. And the social distancing that is within the craft and all of that. Isn't traveling going to be too expensive as we go back for it?
Not really, but the new situation certainly means that there are some added costs that are inevitable, and those added costs are for the safety of everyone involved. They are for the safety of the passengers themselves, but also the users of the airport, the staff that are working on them. So that added cost is inevitable, and it is not only applying in Uganda, but it is across the globe, because everywhere you go now, the PCR negative test is almost mandatory at most of the airports in the world. So it is inevitable. Aviation works in a global sphere. It is not something that we can run away from, but something that we need to adjust to for our own safety, so that operations take off smoothly.
Whoever is to travel can only bear with the situation.
Yes, indeed. Both travelers and also ourselves who are facilitating those travelers, because we first of all need to be safe before we ensure their safety as well.
We thank you so much for the time and the information we have shared. Unless you have some remark for the Ugandan watching.
You're welcome. Maybe a last one, just to remind those departing, like we have said in our SOPs, it's advisable to report to the airport about 4 hours before your scheduled departure time, so that it caters for the time you have to go through the necessary health screening procedures on top of the other security regulations that are already in place.
What happens to me if I fail to beat that?
Nothing really happens to you. It is just for your convenience, unless, but in the process, the risk is missing your flight. As you go through all these processes, you have seen right from the airport gate, there is that procedure that you have to go through before you actually enter the check-in area. And remember, yes, so you need to be in time for your flight, because when you reach after the check-in time has elapsed, then you are bound to miss your flight, which is not good for you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Luja. He is the Public Relations Officer for the Civil Aviation Authority, and that's the body that now is in charge, not only now, but the body in charge of air travels in this country. So whatever he says, we take it for the gospel truth. To you there ready to travel to wherever, that information is what you needed. So we thank you so much for watching. All I have to say is that commercial travels are now open, and Entebbe International Airport is open and at work. Like you can see in my background, I will say it again, it's a beehive of activities. Everybody is at work, cleaners, loaders, and everyone are already busy here. And as he said, they had flights since 4 a.m. and up to now. So that is the situation here. We thank you so much for watching UBC TV. We'll keep you posted about whatever development and whatever that will come in as far as opening the lockdown and whatever is concerned. I'm with Sendone Samuel, the big man and the producer, and with Mr. Jatindi here, Lawrence, who is on camera. My name is Michael Jordan Lukomwa. Back to Broadcasting House, UBC TV, inspiring Uganda.
Osobola okubanga wali owulidde ku ky'okwewaawo ebbanga. Kino kitegeeza kulekawo ekifuba kiramba okuva ku bantu abakuliraanye okukendeeza ku nsaasaanya y'akawuka ka kolona. Naye nga lwaki kyetaagisa? Ewatali kwewaawo ebbanga, omuntu alina akawuka asobola okusaasaanya ku bantu abalala 2 oba 3. Ate ne bano ne bakongerayo ku bantu abalala 2 oba 3. Era na bano ne bakongerayo ku bantu abalala 2 oba 3. Bwe batyo. Mu mwezi akawuka kasobola okuva ku muntu omu ne katuuka ku bantu 406. Wabula singa buli muntu asala ku bantu basinkana 1/2, omuwendo gw'abafuna akawuka gusalika mu bunnambiro. Buli muntu alina akawuka asobola okusiiga omuntu omu oba 2. Ate na bano ne basiiga omuntu omu oba 2. Kino kitegeeza nti obulwadde bujja kusaasaana katono. Nga mu mwezi omulamba akawuka kasaasaana okuva ku muntu omu okutuuka 15. Ago ge maanyi g'okwewaawo ebbanga.